Hi, I'm Mark Eckhart, and I'm going to show you the UTE assembly. Let's get started. What you see here is our UTE. The UTE is our smallest long-haul folding kayak that we manufacture. What we're going to talk about today is the assembly, and I'll also go over all the components you would receive if you purchase the UTE long-haul folding kayak. So you have the complete hull, 2 keel sections, bow and stern piece, 6 rods, 5 ribs, 2 bow gunnels, 2 stern gunnels, bow deck bar, stern deck bar. Then you have the coaming, the seat, and the spray cover, along with the travel bag. The UTE will go into one bag, or it will go into 2 smaller bags. Let's get started. I'm going to start with the bow keel. And the bow piece. Going to slide the bow piece onto the bow keel like that. I always like building up the frame halves on top of the hull. It just keeps things cleaner. 2 rods with hooks. Put the rods on with the hooks facing up. Next piece will be rib number 1, and we're always going to put the ribs in with the numbers facing the numbers. Then I'm going to clip the rods onto the rod holders. We always want to make sure that we keep the bow piece and the keel fully engaged. Next, we'll put in rib number 2. Again, numbers facing numbers. Clip the rods onto the rod holders. Like that. Next piece is the bow deck bar. And we're just going to simply slide the bow deck bar onto the bow piece like that from the side. And the deck bar cap drops over the top. And then we'll engage the lock on the end of the deck bar like that. And lock it in place. Next, we're going to engage our bow gunnels. There are bow gunnels, but not left and right gunnels. Engage that. The gunnel to the bow piece. Next, engage the rib lock to the gunnel tongue and lock it in place. Same thing on rib number 2. The other bow gunnel, lock it into the bow piece, engage the rib lock to the gunnel tongue, and lock it in place. Same thing with rib number 2. And lock it. And that completes the bow frame half assembly. Next, we'll simply just take the bow frame half and slide it into the skin. We always want to slide the bow piece down the center line of the deck. Just like that. All right, now the next step, we'll start to assemble the stern frame half. We have the stern keel, and the stern piece. Slide those two together. And then our two rods with hooks. The hooks up. Next piece will be rib number 5. And again, the numbers face the numbers on the rib face the number on the keel. Hook in the rods to the rod holders. Next piece will be rib number 4. Again, the number faces the number. Hook in the rods. Next piece will be the stern deck bar. Hook in the stern deck bar at the lock on rib number 4 and lock it in place. Next will be the stern gunnels. Hook the gunnel into the stern piece. Engage the number 5 rib lock onto the gunnel tongue and lock it in place. Rib number 4. Lock it in place. Second gunnel. Hooks to the stern piece. Hook up rib number 5 to the gunnel tongue. Lock it. Rib number 4. Lock it. Now we're ready to slide the stern half into the hull. And whenever you're sliding the frame halves in, anytime you meet resistance, just stop, pull it back out, and put it back in. Okay, now that we have the two frame halves in the skin, the next step is to engage the keel lock. The Ute is a little bit different in engaging the keel lock than the Mark I and the Mark II. All right, first thing, just bring up the bow center keel, and then we're going to lift up engage that lock just like that, and now we're going to simply just let this drop into place just like that. Okay, now that we've got the keel engaged, the keel lock engaged, we're going to engage the gunnel locks by simply Gauging it like that. Same thing on the other side. Next, we are going to put in the last two rods. We have the sliders here. We're going to slide the center rod onto the stern rod and just simply slide this sliding sleeve over. Now we're going to put in rib number 3, and we have the rib locks on both sides here, and we're going to get those into this square cutout right here on both sides of the boat. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to separate these gunnels. I'm pushing out with my elbow on this side, and I'm pushing on the other gunnel on this side, and I'm putting that rib lock into the little cutout there. So now the rib is in place, and now I'm going to push the locks into the keel on the bottom. Then I'm going to engage the lock on the rib with the gunnel tongue and lock it in place. Same thing on this side. I've engaged the lock and pin it in place, and then simply just pull the rods onto the rod holders on the rib. Next, we're going to put the coaming on. So this is the coaming. What we're going to do here is we have a T-fitting on the bottom of the mast bracket. We're going to drop the T-fitting down through the grommet and into the rectangular fitting on the deck bar. The coaming is put on at a right angle to the boat, and then we bring it around like this, and if it's locked in place, that means that we've got the T-fitting into the deck bar fitting. Next, we're going to take the grommet on the deck, put the T-fitting through it, and put the T-fitting into the top of the rib lock. Then engage the lock and pin the lock shut. Just like that. Now I'll do that same thing on the other side. Open up the lock, get the T-fitting in it, shut it, and pin it shut. Okay, next thing we're going to attach the rear of the coaming onto the fittings on rib number 4. Next, we're going to tuck the coaming rubber into the groove in the top of the coaming. Both sides. Just like that. The next piece will be the rear boomerang, and this has your HIN number on it, hull identification number. You have 4 screws on the inside of the boomerang. Those 4 screws attach over the grommets. And then the boomerang drops down into the fitting on the combing. Just like that. Now we're going to install the sling seat. You have the straps. They're going to wrap up around the inside of the gunnel, around the top of the gunnel, and then clip in place like that. Same thing on the other side, over the top of the gunnel. And clip them in place. Then you're going to pull the air sponson inflation tubes through the gunnels like that. The next piece is the seat back cushion. Simply slides over the top of the seat back, and then we have the strap that secures it. In place. Then we have our two straps that give the seat back its stability. Just like that. Next, we are going to blow up the air sponsons half volume, and then we're going to put the spray cover on. And the reason for blowing up the air sponsons to half volume is the spray cover is held in place by friction between the deck and the combing. So I'll blow these up. You never want to blow up one sponson all the way, because that will pull the hull and the deck over to one side. So you kind of blow them up evenly. So those are about half volume. Now I'll put the spray cover on. And first thing you do with the spray cover, on the front you have a piece of flat lace that hooks down around the bottom front of the mast bracket. You pull it back, and we have the two rear corner grommets of the spray cover, and they are going to attach to the screws in the boomerang. Attach the second grommet. Perfect. So this is the Velcro tuck under spray cover, and now we're going to go ahead and tuck this flap up into the deck, between the deck and the combing. And this is why we just have our air sponsons blown up half volume, just so that there's not too much tension on that when you're tucking it under. Now I'll do the same thing on this side. now that that's all tucked in, I'm going to come back and I'm going to blow up the air sponsons to full volume. And then just tuck those air sponson tubes out of the way. All right. Then to shut it, and all the Velcro that we've used on the boat is all 2-inch wide Velcro, which seals up the spray cover very nicely. Now that we put the spray cover on, I'm just gonna hop in the boat here and just show you how the spray cover hooks up. So we've got the 2 shoulder straps here, and they adjust in the back, and then you just have a quick release deal here for them. Then you have your cinch strap here. All right, that was the complete Ute assembly. It was simple and quick. Go on out and enjoy your boat. One boat, one bag, the Ute.